Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
Hashtag Clownfish was right. Oh my God, guys. Look at this. Hollywood is pivoting back to center, to entertainment for everybody.
Hopefully.
I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, there are some holdouts for sure. And
if they want to make money.
If they want to make money, they're going to have to appeal to the largest possible demographic. This is coming from the Telegraph. The Telegraph. It said Hollywood's great unwokening, their words, not ours, unwokening has been unleashed. And even the guy who wrote the article said, loath as I am to give the W word an airing, there's no avoiding it here. 2024 is the year in which Hollywood began to move into its post-woke era. It's very obvious to anyone who's been paying attention to a lot of the newer releases and maybe movies that were pushed back that got reshoots. Or, in the case of Inside Out 2, where they were given notes to...
Notes, yeah.
Notes.
Make it less gay, apparently.
De-wokeify it, right? Yeah, so we're gonna talk about this, and we're gonna look at the financial results of the unwokening. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
Go out to clownfishminus.com, help support the reef. You get exclusive content, early content, and also we got some merch out there as well. So check out our merch, and you can get that content as well on clownfishtv.locals.com. So yeah, this is coming from the Telegraph. The unwokening has begun. They said what connects Inside Out 2, Twisters, and Civil War, evident, not the Marvel one, evidence that cinema has finally entered its post-woke era.
Yeah, Twisters, the ones that did really well this year, and Twisters did okay, but all the ones that did really well just weren't, doubling down on that kind of stuff, because then people are tired of it. And I think you can completely have diversity, organic diversity, and you're not making it a plot point,
Yeah. So, I mean, look, this is a very flowery article. I'm going to spare you. I'm not going to even attempt to read it because it's really
blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 blah. He basically said, look, popular studio franchises grew shrill and hectoring over the wokeness. The publicity tours to promote them even more so, giving the populace an easy, mockable enemy against which to rally. In other words, we made the movies woke.
But they were ridiculously woke.
Ridiculously
I hate using that word.
But they were, right? He said he doesn't want to use it, and he's using it.
I know people who watch the show know I don't.
I think it's overused.
I think it's a catch-all, and it's overused, yes.
Anything that's just merely just slightly progressive is not necessarily woke. Woke is when it becomes beyond parody. But some of these movies were very woke.
They were very, yes. And
very beyond parody. And then he's right about the tour, the PR tour. They would send people out, the directors, the actors, whoever, and they would say dumb shit.
Yes.
And then they would actually tank the movie. Sometimes the movies were okay. Actually, sometimes the movies weren't even what I would consider woke, but they would preemptively do damage to the movie, and then nobody'd go see the movie because they're like, I ain't gonna go watch no dang woke movie with
Blue Beetle, D&D,
Blue Beetle and D&D, both of those were fine movies. They're not masterpieces, but they were okay. And they were actually tanked because of stupid shit that was said. Or in the case of, actually both of them, the trailers, Blue Beetle, they should not have ended on the Batman joke. And in the case of D&D, they didn't show the best parts of the movie, or the parts of the movie I think that would have gotten people to the theater. And then also they were out there saying like, we're going to emasculate the men.
Well, the Blue Beetle thing too, the guy that was behind it immediately started being combative and mocking people for calling him out.
Yes.
And then they went from that to please come see our movie.
No, it's too late. People already decide. Like if you're out there like, yeah, I hate everybody who ever voted for Trump. You guys can keep your MAGA money. And it's like, well, guess what? They're going to do it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to like their politics. You don't have to like a person's politics. But if you want to stay in business, if for no other reason than to save your own asses, you need to make as much money as possible, right? Nobody's asking you to get on board the Trump train if you hate Donald Trump. But don't go out there and run down Trump supporters because we know they make up 50% or more of the country. And that's a huge chunk of change. And then the people they're trying to appeal to, in a lot of cases, they don't have any money. You're trying to appeal to these wokesters on social media, and they don't have any money. They're not going to buy your stuff.
Well, this next paragraph What was so striking about Twisters, though, was the progressive talking points you might have been braced for in a film about extreme weather, the perils of climate change, perhaps, or the gullibility of good old Republican voting country folk, because you're all dumbasses, you know? Right. Were nowhere to be found. Instead, the film was about ordinary human ingenuity and courage and emphasized the necessity of cooperation and extremism, you know?
Yeah.
Very aptly, the squally blockbuster sense, God, who writes this way? Which was the wind was blowing, and then impending presidential election shaping up a sequel to 2016, whatever. Fuck off. Basically, pardon me, I'm sorry, Mom. Basically, you know, yes, the human ingenuity, courage, and cooperation, and not nary a political, you know, talking point. That's what people want. You go to the movies because you want to get away from it. You're hounded and you're bombarded and you're like slapped over the head with it every day. And we've been for the last several years. And people were tired of having their entertainment do the same. You want to escape it, not go get preached at more. And that's why they were losing money. It's not rocket science. I don't have to put these flowery words and everything else on there to tell you the truth, which is what I just said.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're talking about the difference between Moana and Wicked ideologically. Like, come on, this guy's
just like getting paid by the word. It's so puffed up and full of crap.
Yeah. So we'll look at the top earners this year, and I would say Wicked is the only one that you could even probably remotely say is quote unquote woke.
Yeah, but that one, it's always been like that.
Yeah, it was a product of its time.
Well, it was always about like, you know, it's
empowerment, and
racism and all that. It was always like that. That's not like just done now for cinema.
You know, I'm not saying I'm racist or anything, but every time I see a green person, I feel unsafe.
Oh, I'm sorry. They had to get Lightyear in there. I'm sorry. They had to get Lightyear in there. And they're like, you know, it was because of the confusing premise and gloomy vibe, which I agree. I think it's mostly why I think Tim Allen not being in there and it not feeling like Buzz Lightyear at all. And a Buzz Lightyear movie, that Buzz Lightyear, proper Buzz Lightyear probably was what killed it. And they're like, you know, reactionaries about the kiss. I think some people were upset about that. I have no doubt. But I think the majority of it was because no one wanted to see it. Because why would you want to see a movie about Buzz Lightyear without Buzz Lightyear?
It wasn't fun. It wasn't a fun movie. Like, again, you cannot... I mean, you want to do a more realistic take on Buzz Lightyear, whatever, right? You want to do Interstellar with Buzz Lightyear, whatever. But don't tell me this is the movie that Andy watched as a kid that made him want the toys. Because I'm like, there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell a kid would want any toys. I know kids don't want the toys of Buzz Lightyear because you can't give them away at Ollie's. They're still sitting there. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants them, right? But yeah, they're talking about how Inside Out 2 had to walk it back a little bit. They said, you know, there's some other projects that look like they might be holdovers from another time, but like it seems like they talked about Snow White. They said a lot of the reshoots are probably to try to salvage it.
Good luck with that. I think at this point, everybody's united in hating this thing.
Yeah, they're talking about Pixar making it less gay. So what happens? Inside Out 2 became, they made it less gay. Inside Out 2 became not only the biggest film of 2024 by an enormous margin, but the most successful animated movie ever released.
Yes.
I did not see that coming. I got to be honest. I'm like, do people really want another Inside Out 2? I'm like, well, yeah, as long as it wasn't woke. They were okay with it.
You don't have to be a marketing guru to work out the lesson. The entire industry will learn from that. Yes. Or you could have just listened to YouTubers for the last few years telling you the same damn thing. Saved yourself lots of money, but you didn't.
Yeah.
But you didn't. So up yours.
Well, they mentioned YouTube.
Oh, is all YouTube's fault?
Well, yeah. They said, though the unwokening of Inside Out, I feel like I need a fake British accent to read this. Though the unwokening, because I'm just a country bumpkin, right, according to this guy. Though the unwokening of Inside Out 2 reportedly began in September of last year after the writer's strike was resolved, it wasn't until the morning after the 2024 U.S. election that the studio's predicament snapped into relief. No one summed it up better than Richard Rushfield, the author of the trade newsletter The Ankler.
I don't know who that is, but whatever.
We are talking to people with a Marvel Cinematic Universe voice, he wrote on November 7th, while we are living in a YouTube world. In other words, shiny corporate progressivism is out and authenticity, or at least a winking pantomime of it, is in. Moana 2 is ahead of the curve.
I'll tell you what the whole thing is. I've already said it. People want their entertainment to be entertaining. They don't want to be lectured at. You can still put, some messaging in there with finesse and nuance like it used to be. It's not, that doesn't mean that you can't have diversity or inclusion in things. You can, as long as it makes sense and it's organic. People don't care. They just don't want to be like, do we mention it's a woman? Did we mention it's a woman? Did we mention she's this? Did we mention she's that? They don't need that. Just give me a good movie with a good story that isn't preaching at me, or I feel like I'm being preached at, and you're gonna get people there. It's really not that hard. It's not rocket science.
They said, Deadpool and Wolverine was a very YouTube-tastic film. They said Civil War, you'd think it would be heavily political, but it was not. They didn't actually pick a side there. They said, however, no side is a very different position from both sides, and since the latter is by far the more commercially advantageous, it'll probably be the one we encounter most in the year ahead. Basically, those conservatives, those families that they've shown disdain for, they're the ones that actually spend the money. Disney would be very wise to remember that. The 2025 Oscar season cranks up. The Hedgehog. Oh, I'm sorry, the hedging. I thought it said the Hedgehog. The hedging has. I'm like, wait, the Hedgehog
has already begun. Not yet. Not till next week.
I hope Sonic beats Mufasa. I don't know.
I just want to laugh about it because Disney needs to stop with the live action remakes. And they're making another one, Tangled. Which I knew they were doing, but now there's announcements about how they're talking to the person from The Greatest Showman to direct Tangled. Stop. Let me save you a bunch of money and time. Stop.
They did not do a lot of interviews for The Apprentice, the Donald Trump.
They were trying to run with that one to try to tank him, and it wasn't working. So.
Yeah, so it's interesting, though. Look here real quick before we wrap it up. Here are the top movies this year. Inside Out 2 got de-woked. Deadpool Wolverine was not woke. Despicable Me 4, I haven't seen it. Wicked, probably, but it was a product of its time. Moana 2, Squid King says no. He said it was boring. Beetlejuice, Dune, Twisters, Godzilla, Kong, Kung Fu. It's.
Some of those are this year, some of those I thought were earlier, but maybe not. Wild Robot.
It's been a long year. It's been a real long year.
It's been a really long year.
Anyway, we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah.
I think we need to wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.